See, if this was in class, Nathaniel, but since...
Yeah, Shalom, real quick, giving all praise to Yahweh, Hashem, 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 Rakakwadash, Shalom to the 144,000 rest of the elect out there. There's a live stream going on, which is put up by Vocab Malone. Ron Dalton, a.k.a. Moses Levy, is actually a live guest on Vocab show. So this is live. I put it back to the beginning. So I'm right here. This show is currently still live. So this is 83 minutes in. So I had to bring it back. So this is going to be a response to Nervous Nate. Ran from Ron Dalton and live debate versus IUIC. So I'm just going to go right with it. Let me see where the spirit takes me.
Since it's on this YouTube channel live, he has to kind of answer. And this is a horrible answer.
Same thing. Isaiah chapter 24 and verse 22. And they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit.
So these prisoners gathered in the pit are the same ones in Revelation 20 and 7. Satan and his minions, which goes with Esau and his allies. Go ahead.
And shall be shut up in the prison.
And they're going to be shut up in the prison. Where's this at? The Caucasus Mountains. Scythia, that whole region of it.
Hey, the prisons the white people are shut up in are Caucasus Mountains. This is bonkers interpretation. So,
yeah, we know that's never been broken down that way. When you go to Revelation 20 and 7 on down, and Revelation 27 on down goes hand in hand with Ezekiel chapter 38 when it speaks about Gog, Magog. But Isaiah 24 has absolutely nothing to do with those two scriptures. Ezekiel 38 and Revelation 20 verse 7. But the way he teaches is he teaches you got to accept it, you can't, and that's called dogma. Look that word up, dogma.
This man is not I'm so glad Ron asked this question to him, because it gave us the chance to hear Nathaniel be upset. That's not about the question. I do confusion. Then he goes to Revelation 27, automatically says this is Esau, Edomites. Then goes to Isaiah and say, well, the places that they're trapped up in, and by the way, he's saying they're the same. He doesn't tell you why this is the same group. That's the Caucasus Mountains. That's where they're trapped up in. Have you ever thought,
Yeah, he just, he wunged it, like he always does. That's talking about, when you read Isaiah 24, that's talking about us taking the kingdom over and imprisoning the Edomites. It doesn't mention Edomites, but the nations. And they're going to be visited so we can put them out there to serve slavery, because they are going into slavery. That's all throughout the scriptures.
prison equals Caucasus Mountains before?
Go ahead.
And after many days shall they be visited.
When it says after many days they shall be visited, they shall be loosed. So these Europeans, even those Europeans that are mixed race with other races, with Japhet, that's what it's going into, okay? And I said, I don't see what it has to do with what we're talking about.
No, I don't see what. Nervous Nate runs away from Ron. I answered the question.
It's the answer.
Okay,
even
Ron.
The mixed race.
He didn't give an answer. He just said Europeans, Caucasians, white people. According to their teachings, they are all Edomites.
Okay, your Ron.
Notice how Ron called him out. He didn't answer. He just repeated the old One West doctrine. So Ron called him the fact that he just made a bold assertion. He didn't give a reason for lining those up, exactly what I said. So this is beautiful, because this shows, imagine Nathaniel trying to survive a cross-examination. Forget about against a Christian apologist. Imagine him trying to survive a cross-examination against a fellow Hebrew Israelite who doesn't agree with his stuff. He wouldn't be able to do it. He's sitting there drinking his coffee. I don't see what this has to do with anything. This is Nervous Nate on full display.
Okay.
Well, that's true, because I've been asking him about the eclipse, 3 hours of darkness. When our Lord was on the cross, he said that was an eclipse. I want him to tell me whether it was a lunar eclipse or solar eclipse. I did videos on it. I put in the title of the video, was it solar or lunar eclipse? Bishop Nate, IUIC, he's yet to answer. So
Europeans and Caucasians are Edomites, correct?
Yep.
So how did you explain to us who are the descendants today of Japheth's?
And by the way, this guy, Denandi, whatever his name is, Denano, of the the YouTube page, Something Nice. He set this thing up to have Nate on as a guest because Nate's been on this guy's show in the past. So he set this up behind the scenes with Ron Dalton for him to come on. That's why Nate was fast to say, let's go to the next person. You don't understand, that was a setup. That's why we don't go on these different shows. It's a setup.
Sons, Gomer, Magog, Meshach, Tubal, and Togarmah. You did not explain that.
A lot of those, yes, I can explain it. Okay. If you get history books, it shows those
Go ahead, we're waiting.
He just said, if you get history books. Thanks for citing your source there.
Polynesians, the Hawaiians, many of them of Thailand, a lot of them, that's them. Because when you look at the archaeology,
they are video.
Hold on. Bishop, hold
on.
Ron.
This guy did not know whatever the name is. This is a Hamitic sonnet.
Hold on, Bishop. Hold on. Ron, I want you to say your parting shot, and then we'll take you out, and then we'll allow other people to come in. I don't want it to be a debate now. It's maybe something we can set up, but your parting shot, and then we'll allow Bishop Nathaniel, and then we'll take you out. We'll allow Bishop Nathaniel to respond. Go ahead.
So again, you have Ivan Van Sertima. When you look at his books, it shows you he has many ancient archaeology of Gomer, many of them, and you can see that they're brown complexion with wavy hair. These are many of your Polynesians, some of them, Hawaiians, some of them, not all of them, but some of them. That is Japhet's sons. That's them.
Earlier in the conversation, he said, we don't judge by looks. Then he just said, read Ivan Sertima's book. He shows, and how does he do it? He does it by the way they look, but from pictures. He's reading the spirits of pictures. Did you guys catch that? We don't judge by that. We judge more by the spirit. Then he goes to a book referencing pictures based upon phenotype. Are you catching the inconsistency here? Look at Nate, look into the heavens. Yahushai, help me. Yahushai, if you could just help me. Maybe you could make the internet go out right.
He doesn't call on Yahushai. He calls on Jesus. Same God you call on.
Right now, Yahushai, if you could make the Yahweh, he's about to get into that Lashwa and Kodash. He's so nervous. Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai. Right now, please, Yahushai. Nate has never prayed so hard in his life. He's starting to use the Lashwa and Kodash. That's how religious he's feeling right now.
Okay, Ron, thank you very much.
So the problem, this is the last thing I want.
That's why our job is to teach the hopeful elect. And that's it. Not getting all into this Hollywood shit. You know, people watch this to get into these debates. People watch this to get entertained. They're not learning anything. And these things make people doubt, you know, whether you have the truth or not.
I want to say, Bishop Nathaniel and IUIC, they did videos in the Pacific Islands, like Papua New Guinea, in Fiji and other islands, saying that you guys are the Israelites. So how can these black people that you guys are going into these islands claiming you're teaching them that they're the Israelites? How can they be the descendants of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Meshach, and Tubal when I just seen the video the other day, you were in Papua New Guinea teaching that these black Pacific Islanders are the Israelites. So what is it? Bishop?
Hear that? That's Nate's heart.
Let's explain it.
Okay,
let's
Ron.
go to Isaiah 11:11. Let me explain it.
Ron.
He's so nervous, it's his heartbeat.
Okay.
Chapter 11?
Hold on, brother. Hold on. Ron, we're taking you out now. We need to finish this one off. We'll make some time for a debate. Okay,
Yeah,
Bishop Natalia wants to explain. No.
Bishop.
Yeah, the Nano set him up like because that gets a big audience and it makes money. Unless, I don't know, maybe they don't ask for money. I don't know.
Right.
If you ain't got scripture, there's no debate. I got scripture.
Do not run. I'm here.
Bishop, no.
Already.
Ron, I'm the one
right
running.
here.
Bishop, can I mediate?
For an audience because he ain't got one.
He's not ready.
Notice the line of the video was watching it says, this is some good stuff. They want to hear the discussion. But Nathaniel, well, he doesn't have scriptures. Well, he's just asking questions about biblical lineages since it's what we're into. And listen to his answer. This is, okay, I'm going to play more of the video, but first I want to go ahead and get Ron Dalton's perspective And we're going to bring him on. This is the first time I think he's been on Street Apologist Live. Let me make sure I got him all lined up here. I'm going to put his name on the screen in just a second. Okay, let's get you unmuted here, my friend. And, okay, you are live. Let me give you the applause here. And we'll let you speak your piece. Welcome to Street Apologist Live, Ron Dalton Jr. Give your commentary, my friend.
All right, there's a little bit of a lag, but as long as you can hear.
Wait, there's a lag? Oh, we better get him off. Get him off right now. There's a lag. Get him off. I'm just kidding. Because that's how they tried to do you. The second there was a lag, they tried to get you off. But go ahead.
Bishop Nathaniel, he was not expecting questions, and the questions that I gave him, and he knows who I am. That's why he got so nervous when I came on the live and was answering questions very incorrectly, like he didn't know who Abraham's descendants were in terms of Isaac, Jacob, and Esau. He just said no.
What was that about? What was that about?
I think he was real nervous, and he wasn't thinking clearly. He was, afraid. His heart was pounding, and he just was so nervous that he just had to say no. And even though he should know that Isaac had Jacob and Esau, and Isaac is the son of Abraham. So that question I gave him, meaning are the white races, the Negroes, Latinos, and Hispanics, and the Native American Indians, are they the descendants of Abraham? Yes or no? And he said no. And I said, this is the leader of a major organization, Israelite organization, worldwide, and your leader just said that the Edomites and the Israelites are not the descendants of Abraham. I can't believe that. I mean, people need to just think about it.
Yeah, they are. Esau are Shemites or Hebrews. They come from Abraham. So I don't know why he said
about
that.
Either he knows the answer, or he was so scared and nervous that it caused him to not think clearly enough to say the correct answer. It was an easy. It was a Sunday school lesson.
That wasn't even a trick question. That was just a setup for the discussion, because under their assumption, Edomites would have to be descendants of Abraham. There's no other option under their own assumption. Now, you don't share that assumption because you don't believe that white people mainly are descendants from Esau, but they do. So under his assumption, he should have said yes to you easy, right?
Easy. He should have, yeah. Well, he did it. And that's why these guys, I call them out by names and say, debate me. If you have the truth, if you stand by it, if nobody else has the truth but you, and you're the prophets of God, the sons of God, we teach Bible, and we all are like novices and amateurs. We don't know nothing. We just need to learn. And you're teaching. You don't debate. You teach. Well, how can we respect you as a teacher when you can't even answer a simple Sunday school Bible lesson question? Anybody who goes to Sunday school should know Abraham had Isaac, Isaac had Jacob and Esau. So that would make the descendants of Jacob and Esau the descendants of Abraham. Come on, that's
100%.
Crazy.
Real quick, thank you very much, Phil Fox, for your support, my brother, and Ham Sunshine, both of y'all. And people are asking, wait a minute. Isn't this the guy who made the movie Hebrews to Negroes? Yes, J-Man, it is. So let's prove, Ron Dalton, that he definitely knows who you are. When Kyrie Irving retweeted your movie and got in hot water about it, we covered the controversy. The link is pinned in the chat, by the way. Nathaniel got IUIC together to go march around the Barclays Center, supposedly in solidarity with Kyrie. Now, by them doing that, in a way, it's not like they're directly supporting your work, but in a way, they're sort of like tangentially sort of giving. To me, it's like they're sort of giving you, I don't know what the word is, props or something in a way too, because they're not literally marching on your behalf, but your movie is part of it. Now, again, I covered the documentary. I had strong disagreements with it. We've talked about that, but I'm not here. I don't want to bring you on to debate you today. I'm more trying to get your perspective on this. So he knows who you are. And regardless of if people like you or not, in the past, I didn't like you as much. Lately, we've been talking more. Maybe we can have a little friendship. You seem like a reasonable guy, and I appreciate that. But here's the thing. He knows who you are, and you do have a following. Whether someone likes you or not, you were talked about in all the newspapers and all the media. You can't deny you have a following, because I'm going to play the video in a second. He's going to act like you're nobody without a following, so he won't debate you. That's pure excuse. What would you want to debate him on, Ron?
It's a lot of things. Like I say to all the camp leaders, like Captain Tazariak, Elder Wakar, Gorilla Hebrew, Bishop Nathaniel. I said, listen, guys, Esau. Let's debate. Let's debate on is Esau the entire white race, or we can debate on are all Africans Hamites, or we can debate on, who are the descendants of Japheth. Since you guys say that the whole white race is Esau, well, who is Japheth? Let's talk about that. Then, since the land of Canaan is the land that the Israelites possessed, they were totally possessed by God, who are the Canaanites today? Where are they at? Where are they located at? What name do they go by? What's their indigenous land? Can we find these guys somewhere? Where's the true land of Canaan? All these questions, I said, let's have a debate or discussion on this. And they're like, I won't debate on that. I won't debate on that. I won't
So
debate on this.
your part of your point, Ron, is you're trying to show, now I don't agree with this, but I'm going to try to explain your position. You're saying this ties into biblical prophecy.
And see, this is what happens when Nate goes on these different shows as a guest on these different shows. And this guy from Something Nice, D Nano, he set him up. So he really wasn't a friend. He set you up. He said it. This Ron Dalton said that they talked about it before, and then they would have Nate on again. He would have Ron Dalton in the wings, and then Nano started saying, "Well, we're not having a debate. We can set up a debate." So he's basically doing what Sonnet has been doing for a number of years. This is, see, when you go on these different shows and you have people call in, you don't know who's going to call in the show. Could be a bunch of scholars. The bottom line is you teach. This brings confusion. The Most High, the Apostle Paul said in 1 Corinthians 14, the Lord or the Most High is not the author of confusion. He's not about confusion. So this just brings confusion. He's not going to come around and say, yes, you guys are right. They are Edomites and the 12 tribes is right. And no. So he's going to argue his side, what he believes in, which people have to pick and choose. So people that are coming into this thing that don't know what's going on, some of them is going to follow him, because they don't know any better. Most High never told us to have a series of debates with people, different religions.
And then ties in with your thesis that Israel is actually in Africa, and you're saying that's part of the reason the discussion needs to be had. But I think you're also saying that it also doesn't make sense on a purely logical level, because you pointed out they were just in the Polynesian areas saying you guys are Israelites, but they used to say those people were the descendants of Japheth. So now, who can Japheth be? They've painted themselves in the corner. So my question to you is, who could they possibly make Japheth at this point? Ron, who could it be?
They ran out of options a long time ago, because Bishop Nathaniel just did a teaching, or he did a replay on the Gentiles, or are they Japheth, or can they be Edomites? And he didn't really answer the question. He goes to Rudolph Windsor's book and says, we're getting this from Rudolph Windsor's book. And I put out my books and movies before I even read Rudolph Windsor's books. So nobody's going off of Rudolph Windsor's books. And the term Gentile just simply means nations or peoples, like the Hebrew word am also means people or nations. And so we're not debating about who is a Gentile. Gentiles are just nations, people. But in terms of Japhet, you can't say Europeans mixed with Japhet, and then say the Pacific Islanders, the Hawaiians, the Fijians, the Samoans, some of them, not all of them. Well, we know the history of the Polynesian islands is that the Germans, the French, the British, the United States of America, the Chinese, the Japanese, they all had their hand in invading and colonizing, even the Spanish, some of these islands like the Philippines and Samoa, Fiji, and Hawaii. So when you look at the fact that they say that the British and the Germans and United States of America, that they are the Edomites because they're white Caucasians, then they say that the Chinese and the Japanese are Moabites and Ammonites in their teaching. So then if you look at the other people that invaded or colonized the Pacific Islanders, other than the black people that's there, then you're looking at Edomites and Moabites and Ammonites. So then the black Pacific Islanders, you already are saying that they are the Israelites in your IUIC Oceania page. So how can it be Japheth? How can any of them be Japheth if the black Pacific Islanders are teaching that they're descendants of the Israelites, and then two, the British, the Germans, and United States of America that colonized these islands, they're the Edomites, and then three, if we want to talk about the Asian influence in these islands, we're talking about the Japanese and the Chinese, they're the Ammonites and the Moabites. So again, where are the children of Japheth if I could not find any of these nations in the Pacific Islanders? But they say all these things, it's the Pacific Islanders, it's the people in the Caucasus Mountain region. But the Caucasus Mountain region, they're Caucasians. And Georgia is a part of Europe.
Yeah, like modern day Georgians or modern day Armenians, for example.
Yes.
So I think we might agree on that. Now, so your point is that you would say, if I follow you correctly, that you believe Europeans primarily descend from Japheth, not from Esau. That's part of your argument, right?
Yeah. So prior to Esau even being born,
he did say, and I showed it in the last video I did featuring Ron Dalton. He said that the sons of Japheth and the sons of Edom, the Edomites, mix their seed. And Bishop Nate said the same thing. And it makes sense that they're like the Etruscans definitely look like Hawaiian, Samoan-looking people. And it's you can look it up. You can Google it, get books on it. That before the European white Romans took those regions, Europe and Italy and so forth, that the people that were there before them were what do they call them? Etruscans, which look like Polynesian or Samoans or Hawaiians. So it makes sense. But you're going to have Israelites looking like all the nations. So
you about to go to Genesis 10?
Yeah, there were many ancient civilizations that existed that were living 3000 BC. The Chinese civilization, the Sumerian civilization, the Proto-Indo-Europe.
So where did they all come from? Where did the Chinese come from? You have to know. He can say the Chinese, Japanese, Moab, and Ammon, but you have to say, no, they're not. Well, who are they then? The Chinese came from some place, one of the biblical nations found in Genesis chapter 10.
European civilization. There were cultures and civilizations that were living in Western Europe, Eastern Europe, the Pontus.
Here. Sorry, wrong thing.
Yeah.
That's an old video of theirs. Hold on, I'm gonna try to go and see if I can bring up Genesis 10, because I imagine that's relevant to this. We might play that video later that I just had on the screen. That's an old IUIC video that I have downloaded. I don't know if we're gonna have time to get to it or not. Okay, so here's Genesis 10. Now, I need to say something as a Christian first before we get into this. This is the Bible, so it's interesting and important in one sense because it's the scripture, it's the word of God. There's a reason it's in here. However, on the other hand, we as Christians, we do believe within the Hebrew Israelite spectrum there's a little bit of a preoccupation with ancient genealogies and how they correspond to the modern era. And so our view is that this is not the dominant thing that should be talked about or discussed. But if a person is going to talk about it and discuss it, like IUIC, they should at least be correct in their presuppositions that they're using to prove their points, especially if it relates to people's salvation or lack of ability to have salvation. So with that in mind, we go to Genesis chapter 10. I'll read it, and then I want to talk specifically about the Japheth passages. Now, these are the generations of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and sons were born to them after the flood. The sons of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan. That's going to be important later on, by the way. Everybody remember that term, Javan. And Tubal, Meshach, and Tyrus. Now, that's part of what you brought up when you were talking to him. The sons of Gomer were Ashkenaz, and Riphtah, and Togarmah. The sons of Javan were Elisha, and Tarshish, and Kittim, and Dodanim. Sorry about my pronunciation on some of these. From the coastlands of the nations were separated into their lands, everyone according to his tongue, according to their family.
Yeah, the sons of Ham. Esau has been saying, let me do this. Bear me for a minute. Who descended from the Hamites? Bible. Who descended from the Hamites? Bible. Who are the descendants? According to Genesis 10, Ham, one of Noah's sons, had 4 sons, Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. These sons are considered to be the ancestors of various groups of people, including Cushites, who were associated with regions in Africa and the Middle East. Mizraim, Egyptians who inhabited the Nile Valley. Remember, Nate said that the only people in Africa that are not Israelite, everybody in Africa is Israelites, except for the Nilotic people, which means people that live off the coast of the Nile, which are the Sudanese, which are the Egyptians. They look just like the ancient Egyptians. Freakishly tall, 7 feet, 8 feet tall. You know, the women are 7'2", 7'5". The men are closer to 8 feet. Like Manute Bo would definitely be a direct descendant of the Mizraimites, which the Greeks called it Egypt. Put or Pawat, Libyans. Libyan is in North Africa. If you see Muammar Gaddafi, you look behind him, and the people behind him are dark-skinned, African-looking people, a people group in Northern Africa. Canaanites who inhabited the land of Canaan, which is currently Israel today, later known as Palestinians, not the Arab Palestinians. So even Esau says that one of the sons of Noah are currently the Africans today. So let me come back over here.
Into their nations, and then it goes on to talk about Ham. So do you think this section is relevant in your discussion with IUIC, and what would you want to say from your perspective about Genesis 10 here, these first few verses?
Yeah, because you know, we know that these other nations existed prior to the birth of Abraham. And so when we look at these ancient cultures and civilizations that the Europeans and just geneticists and archaeologists and anthropologists, when they study.
Yeah, because we don't know who's who. I mean, even among Israel, you can't point to somebody and say, oh, you an Edomite and you an Israelite. Because you're going to have Israelites looking like Edomites, Edomites looking like Israelites, Israelites looking like Hamites. You got Israelites that mix their seed with Moab and Ammon, or Chinese and the Japanese, and the sons and daughters look somewhat like that particular nation. So that's why the Most High is going to sift out the Israelites, meaning the elect. Amos 9.
Ancient Europe, they can tell you who were the people living in these lands thousands and thousands of years ago, prior to Abraham, and looking at their type of religion, their pottery, their DNA from the skeletons. These are all pre-existing prior to Abraham, and this is in the Greco-Roman territory lands. This is in the northern European, Scandinavian lands, Eastern European, the Pontic steppes, Chinese civilization, or Asia. All these different areas. And so, when you look at Gomer and Magog and Madai and Javan, the Grecians, and then Kittim, they said is the Romans. All these nations in history have relevance. We know that the Roman Empire was succeeded the Greek Empire, and prior to that, you had the Persian Empire that was the main force on the scene. And the Greeks came.
And the Persians, we know that they're the people of Iran today, because the people of Iran do call themselves the original, the Persians. Their lineage goes back to, they still have certain celebrations about the Persian Empire. So they'll tell you, I've met people from Iran that say, "Oh, yeah, we're the Persians. We're the Persians."
After the Greeks came, the Romans came, and then after the Romans came, you see the Arabs. But when you look at not only the Arabs, but when the Roman Empire fell in 476 AD, we saw that Germanic tribes that people back in the day will call them barbarians and Gothics and Scythians and Magagians and all these different exonyms and endonyms of what they were giving these names of people in these other areas outside of the Roman Empire. Yeah, these other nations came and they conquered the old Roman Empire. And then voila, today we have the European countries today like France and Germany and the Netherlands and Luxembourg and Great Britain and Spain and Portugal. And yeah, we have all these in the United States of America from Great Britain. These nations are birthed out of these Germanic nations that kind of conquered and mingled with the Roman Empire. That's why you still see in Spain and Portugal the Romance language is being spoken. And you look at the Heruli, the Sueve, the Vandals, the Ostrogoths, the Visigoths, all these nations are non-Greco-Roman people.
All right, the live chat's got a few questions for you. If we could keep these brief, and then we'll watch the rest of this video. Who does he believe Esau is? So they want to know. Live chat wants to know, Ron, who do you believe Esau is?
Okay, so in the beginning, Esau mixed with Canaanites, a descendant of Ham, an African. He mixed with the daughter of Ishmael. Yes, this is in the early books of the Torah. And then it says that even during the times of King Solomon and King David, that Hadad the Edomite, that he left and he went to Egypt with his Edomite brethren, and there he gained favor with the Pharaoh and his wife, the queen, and the queen had a sister named Taphanes, sister of the queen mother of Egypt, and he married her, had children with, she had a child.
Yeah, that's in 2 Kings. Chapter 11. Give me a second. So that kills that BS that vocab said, oh, the Edomites were done away with. Well, Edomites left their seed. Perfect example is the example that he's given. 2 Kings 11. I'm going to go to Hadad. I'm sorry. I got to find it this way. Let me do it this way. Give me a second here. I'm sorry, 1 Kings. 1 Kings 11. Put the D. Here we go. Most High raises adversaries. And the Lord stirred up an adversary unto Solomon, Hadad the Edomite. He was the king. He was of the king's seed in Edom. And the phenotype of an Edomite is a so-called white man. Even you go to Google, put in the word Edom, Edomite, and click images. And the man was red. He's the only nation that's red. North American Indians are not red. They're brown. The only people on the planet Earth that are red-skinned are Edomites. First came out red all over like a hairy garment, like and unto a hairy garment, or red hairy garment. Tells you in the law that they took badger skins and different skins and they dyed them red. I'm not going to go to that. I said, for it came to pass when David was in Edom and Joab, the captain of the host, was going up to bury the slain after he had smitten every male in Edom. That meant every male in Edom that they can get their hands to, because some of them escape. Because you have the 1,000 years later, you have the Herodians, which are Edomites. So they didn't get every Edomite. For 6 months, did Joab remain. So they killed a lot of Edomites that was in that region with all of Israel until he had cut off every male in Edom, meaning the ones that they can catch. Like I said, he did not. How do we know that he did not kill every Edomite? Because you had the Herodians. You had the Maccabees, Judas Maccabees, fighting against the Edomites in 2nd Maccabees chapter 5. And then after Maccabees, one of the Maccabees' relatives, family members, relatives, was John Hyrcanus. See, when you come into the Bible, you got to go into history, man. That's why you people, could you tell me what this means? Because people don't want to do all this study and they leave it to us. So, who are those Edomites that John Hyrcanus killed a lot of them after the fact? I'm talking about after Judas Maccabees killed a lot of them. John Hyrcanus, the high priest from the royal Maccabean family, he killed a lot of them too. He burnt them too. But then he took some and he spared their life. But he said, I'm going to spare your life. That's in the Josephus. I'm going to spare your life, but you're going to have to keep the laws of the Most High. And they said, yeah, no problem. We'll keep them. Because they say that the small hats, the J's, came from Kazakh. Not necessarily. They came from wherever. You got it. They came from the land of Edom. They were mingled among Jake in Israel. They even fought in 70 AD. They fought against the Romans and the Herod's personal army, men of war. You had Edomites fighting side by side with Judah. Why? Because they wanted to get, they figured if they died for this thing, because some of them wanted to be saved, right? That Hadad fled, he and certain Edomites, so other Edomites, of his father's servants. These servants were Edomites with him to go down into Egypt, Hadad being yet a little child. So he grew up. So the Pharaoh at that time wanted, he liked this guy. Yeah, I like them Edomites, we can mingle. They had a thing about being light, I would figure. He even mentions the Pharaoh's wife, which she's like a queen sister, Taphanes, and he bared at least one son. So what did that son come out looking like if the Egyptians were black or dark skinned? Hadad's son did not look like an Edomite. He looked like a Hamite. So now let's come on back. Matter of fact, let me do this. The biblical Edomites. This is what an Edomite looks like according to Google. Google's pretty accurate. Okay, these are not Edomites. They take away a lot of pictures. You know what? I might have to put it in differently. Okay, this is the god of the Edomites, Quaz, and he looks just like Barry Manilow. You know, they got the classic J nose. So their god has to look like them. If you create a god, you're gonna make your god look like you. Look like Barry Manilow. The famous Barry Manilow. He's dead ringer for Barry Manilow. As a matter of fact, let me do this in case y'all didn't know who Barry Manilow is. Look at this picture real good. Barry Manilow. That's Quaz. That's Quaz right there. This is when he was a lot younger. Pretty good singer. That's a dead ringer for Quaz. Get a good look at him. Get a good look at him. Let's bring it back. Bring it back again. Barry Manilow. Let me do this. Let me do this. Let me put in Esau, the father of the Edomites. Esau. Am I spelling that right? Esau. First Edomite. Boom. Look like a white man to me. With red hair, red skin. Edomites don't get suntan, they get burned. They turn redder. Esau. And this is supposed to be Jacob, and they're trying to say Jacob is white, but not as red. No, Jacob was a black man. That's why they made a big deal when Esau was born. The first came out red, all over like a hairy garment. And they call his name Esau. The word Esau means wasted away. It's a phenotype of a so-called white man, a European. So even Google has it correct.
Her name Genubab, and this child was weaned in the royal house of the Egyptians. So right there, you see that Hadad the Edomite had a child with an Egyptian woman, another Hamite other than Canaan. So, we know that.
So this child didn't have the phenotype of his father Hadad. Dark genes are dominant. The Egyptians were crispy black, meaning very, very dark brown. So you're gonna have Edomites that look like Moab, Chinese people, Japanese, if they mingle their seed.
During the time of the turn of the century into the to the time of the Christ, a lot of the Herodians at that time, they had made some intermarriages with the Greeks and the Romans, but that doesn't mean that the Edomites replaced the Roman people or the Greco people or the Greek.
You got Jewish historians, scholars that say, matter of fact, let me go to it. This is why you can't have a debate, because you can't go and if you have a time machine, you can go back. Okay, we're going to prove it. I'm going to grab Esau. I'm going to get in my time machine. I'm going to go back 5,000 years. or 4,000 years, and I'm gonna grab Esau and I'm gonna put him in my machine and bring him to you. See, look, I got Esau. That's the only way you can shut people up. Okay, what did he just say? Let me hear this again. Oh, I'm sorry. It came back to me. Are the Romans descendant of Esau? I should have said the Edomites. They took a lot of this stuff out. Let me do it this way. Are the Romans descendant of the Edomites? See, this is fucking with me. Who are the descendants of the Edomites? Are the Romans the Romans descendants of the Edomites? Okay, they changed a lot of stuff. If I went to this maybe a year or two ago, and you have all these they take a lot of stuff out, bro. How can we know for sure that the Romans are? Yeah, they didn't change a lot of stuff, and because they know we go. Let me see. Are the Romans Italians descendants of Esau since ancient times? Since ancient Italians were synonym of Romans, I can hardly read this, from the 1st century BCE, Roman Italians. Okay, to answer, Edom and Rome, this basic sketch of the relationship between what's that? I can hardly see that. I can hardly see that word of. Okay, they're giving you they changed a lot of things. If we were back, okay, let me go over here. Let's come over here. The Romans were not Edomites. See, they changed it. And most of these were articles that Jewish rabbi historians put together. Edom becomes Rome. I can hardly see this. See if I can get a better picture. Hey, I put in, this was years ago. This is maybe 2016. 2015, 2016, I put in, we spoke and I got this document from Google, Jays that were involved in the transatlantic slave trade, and they gave you a whole list. They took all that out. It says Edom's political connections with Annes, his people, and Beta is one of the many threads that connect Edom to the origins of Rome. Okay, they're saying it right here. Give me a second. Origins of Edom, Babylon, and Rome, Christianity, the Assyrians. The Assyrians descended from what is that? Taurus. And Caucasians conquered and destroyed Jerusalem together with Syria, and these It don't say nothing about Edom. Esau and Rome. Let me look at this. They changed. They took out a lot of this information. The ancient Romans were a mixture of people who constantly added newcomers to their mix. The Edomites were descendants of Esau, twin brother. They're not giving you these articles like they used to do, because we've been going to Google. Okay, are Europeans Edomites? Why is Edom considered to be Western culture, meaning Europe? Ultimate West is America. Let me see something. Who is the Roman Empire related to? How is the Roman Empire related to Edom? Was Alexander, they're bringing it to you in the form of a question. Was Alexander the Great an Edomite? Yes, he was. They bring it to you in the form of a question. But like I said, you go back 2-3 years, they give you a lot of articles by mainly small hats, rabbis, historians, that, let me see, what is the connection between Edom and Rome? Okay, let me look at that. The very early rabbis likely linked Edom to the Roman Empire through Herod the Great. Herod was a descendant of the Edomites, converts to Judaism, and was also the one who brought Judea into the Roman orbit. Like I said, they took out this stuff where it says the Romans are direct descendants of the Edomites. They're changing a lot of things, man, because we've been going to it. So let's come on back. This is why you can't have a debate, because they can question, well, where does it say that? Well, it doesn't say that. It's a question mark. He's going to see what he wants to see.
People does not mean that they think that because of Book of Joshua that Kittim subjected Zepho the Edomites and they became one nation. They became all Edomites. That's false.
Right. So if IUIC is going to teach, like they do in their brand new book called Biblical Events from Assyria to America, which they're basically trying to replace Rudolph Windsor's book with their version of it. By the way, we're going to be reviewing the Assyria to America book this Saturday. So if they're
and see, that's stupid, because the book is already written. Why would you have to write a book? You don't have to write a book. The book is already there. We had a brother that put some books together dealing with the scriptures, and that kind of, you don't need to write a book. You got the videos.
Saying, which they are, Edom conquered Rome and conquered Europe. When did this happen? First of all, when did Edom come in and
Well, you can't find it now. They took out the history. You can't. There's a lot. When you deal with history, you're dealing with millions of people, and you're dealing with thousands of years. You can't. If you say, okay, Cornelius, let's get all the history of Cornelius. Okay, Cornelius' father was named Joseph, and his mother was named Alabama, and they're from this region, and you're not going to get that. If you put in Peter's wife, he got all his history of Peter's wife, a real name, how many children he had, you're not going to. You're dealing with what, 9 billion people right now, 8 billion plus. So you go back 2,000 years, how many people were on the planet? I don't know, let's say 10 million people. Throw out a number out there. Can you go to Joe Smo? He's number, out of 10 million people, he's number 5 million, and you can get all his whole, we got the records on that guy? No. there's a lot of things missing in history. You don't have history on every single person on the planet Earth from 2,000 years ago or 5,000 years ago. So ultimately, when you teach people, if they look like Israelites, you assume that they're Israelites, but they could be looking like Edomites. This is why you can't debate. You know, like Paul said, I always use this scripture in Romans 11. Lest, least ye be wise in your own conceit.
Conquer Rome. And then if they did, where did Rome go? Well, I'm going to show you something crazy about what these guys think. I think I've got this properly lined up. Give me a second. I want to show something here about what these guys say. And it's just so bizarre. Let me line this up. It's going to take me a second with this video.
Yeah, Elijah coming back as John and reincarnation is bizarre to you. You can't see it because you don't want to see it.
Hold on, I've got it right here.
Oh, the thing about hell. These Christians believe in hell, but they can't prove it. There's no one in the scriptures where it describes hell in detail. Well, you might say Luke 16, that's a parable. So there's a lot of confusion. This guy's bringing confusion. He's bringing confusion. Bishop Nate is bringing confusion. Look, I can ask Bishop Nate one simple question. When does the Sabbath come? He's going to say Friday, sundown, and Saturday, sundown. I'm going to say, prove it. If you can prove it, I'll follow it. He can't prove it.
Okay, let's see here. Let's put it right. Okay, this is a very interesting video. Everyone, check this out. Just give me 1 second here. It's going to be wrong at first, but I'm going to play a video about what they think about this in IUIC, okay? Just a second. We're going to watch this, some of their views. Okay, just give me a second. I got to line this up, okay? This is a short, so it's not even a long video. We'll show this. Okay. Yeah, the original people of the Roman Republic was the seed of Japheth. Hashtag Minoan, Samoan, Hawaiians. That's the title of this video that we're going to watch.
Which makes sense. The Etruscans, which makes sense.
By IUIC. Was this the short one? No, this isn't the short one. We need to watch the shorter one. The Polynesians and Hawaiians are from the lineage of Japheth in the Bible. There, this is the shorter one. We'll watch.
The father of all the children of Eber.
Write this down. Eber is where the word Hebrew comes from.
Oh, how do you know that? Who told you that? The fairy godmother? All of a sudden you know the Hebrew now? Sometimes he knows the Hebrew and other times he don't know the Hebrew.
Eber is where the word Hebrew comes from. Go ahead.
The brother of Japheth, the elder. Even to him were children born.
Japhet refers to beautiful. That's what it means. And
nope, it doesn't mean that. That's what they taught. Japhet does not mean beautiful. It means large, I believe. It does not mean beautiful. Let me go to Genesis. Let me go to Genesis. Genesis 10. He's regurgitating stuff that he learned from One West. Okay, let me see. Japhet. Let's look up the word Japhet. Yapath. Yapath means open, the third son of the descendant flood, coastal lands, Mediterranean, northern into Europe and parts of Asia. It means open or large. Yapath. And let me look this up. Let me look at the word beautiful. Beauty. I'm a lousy speller. Did I spell that right? Give me a second. I spelled that wrong. Give me a second there. Let me do it this way. See what Nate does? He regurgitates a lot that the things that he learned from the main school, but he adds in certain things and takes away certain things. Beautiful.
Here's the definition of beautiful: pleasing the senses or mind aesthetically.
Okay, beautiful. Let's look up the word in the Hebrew. Let's see what the word is. Beautiful and well favored. Rachel is far more beautiful than Leah. They were both beautiful, but okay, so it says here Yapath, but then it says Yapah. Let's see what Yapah leads to. Yapah. Yapah means fair and beautiful, or even handsome. So the word for Japhet is Yapath, which means open or large. I just showed you that in the Hebrew. That's why you need to go to the blue letters sometimes. Now the reason why Nate said the word Japheth means beautiful is because he's regurgitating what he learned from, the seven, the high priest of Shai. They said that for years. Oh, Yapath means beautiful. No. Japheth does not mean beautiful. It means open. Yapath, Yapatha. Beautiful is Yapah, final ha, or the suffix ha.
And that's where you get your Polynesians, Hawaiians. That's them. That's why when you look at many history books,
and you can't prove that. Somebody can say, well, they're Chinese people. There was such a who can you identify the descendants of the 6 sons of Keturah? You don't know who the fuck they are. You got Iranians that look like Arabs, Midianites, and so forth.
When you look up Japhet, they were all brown skinned with long, wavy hair. Those were your Polynesians, your Hawaiians. The Philippines are more mixed, the Filipinos.
We believe that, We believe that, You can't really prove it. It makes sense. But you say it like the 7 used to say. They used to say things and that they said it, that means that's what it is.
Okay, so I'll just leave it like that.
So for the record, Bishop Nate was wrong again. He said the word Japhet means beautiful. It does not mean beautiful. I showed you that in the blue letter. It means open, as opposed to Yapah, which is Hebrew for beautiful.
This is crazy.
The problem in that.
Go
The problem in that is that if the Edomites took over Rome, and now the Romans are Edomites, and he's saying that the Polynesians like Fiji, Samoa, Hawaii, Cook Islands, these are all Japhet in Moab. Yeah. So if they're the descendants of Japheth, the black Polynesians, that means that according to Ezekiel 38, that these nations, the Polynesians, the black Polynesians, they're going to get their army together and they're going to come to the land of.
They were pushed out, just like the Romans pushed out, before the European Romans set up Rome. Let me do this. Let me do this. Okay. Give me a second. What year was the Roman Empire established?
According to Wikipedia, the Roman Empire ruled the Mediterranean and much of Europe, Western Asia, and North Africa.
Okay, so it says 27 BC. Right? I thought it was. So that's when I guess they officially started ruling. 27. That was 27 years, not even 30 years before the Lord came on the scene. So who was ruling before that? The Etruscans. Let me ask that question. Who occupied Rome before the Roman Empire?
According to Wikipedia, the history of Rome includes the history of the city of Rome as well as the civilization of ancient Rome.
Okay, so look, it says it compasses the Roman kingdom, okay, 753 to 509 BC. That's before the Romans came into power. The Roman Republic, 509 to 27. And the Roman Empire, 27 BC to 476 AD. This is when Jake started. Jake came in 96 AD after the death of Domitian until the fall of the Western Empire. When you go into the history of the four tetrarchs, two of them took the west, the other two, they were cold regions, took the east, and the east fell. The east is also known as the so-called Byzantine Empire. That's why you got people that think that Constantine, the line of the Constantines, were white people. They were not white people. So you got to do this. You just can't, look, you can't do what Josiah, 193 AD, Septimius Severus was the first Jake to rule Rome. No. You do the research, you find out the first Jake that ruled Rome sat as an emperor was in 96 AD. And they don't even use AD. They call it CE, Common Era, BCE, before the Common Era, because Esau don't want to acknowledge the Messiah. Give me a second here. Okay, so it was the Roman kingdom. Then it went from the Roman kingdom to the Roman Republic. Then from there to the Roman Empire. Give me a second. Let me ask this question. Did the Etruscans rule Rome? I said it right. I didn't say Etruscans. Etruscans. Let me click on that. The Etruscans ruled Rome through a monarchy from roughly 616 to 509 BCE, before the Common Era, with the Turkine and Etruscan dynasty. Let me do this. I'm sorry. Who are the Etruscans? The Etruscans were an ancient civilization that thrived in the central Italy, particularly in the region known as Tuscany. So Tuscany, suppose the roots go back to the Etruscans. You got a place in Rome called Tuscany, or Italy called Tuscany. Between the 8th and 3rd centuries BCE, they were known for their sophisticated culture, strong military, and extensive trading network in the Mediterranean. These were dark people. The Etruscans were not Indo-European, and their language remained largely indecipherable, so they couldn't decipher the language. Their civilized, they wasn't speaking language, Latin. Their civilization significantly influenced the development of ancient Rome in terms of architecture, art, religion, and even blah, 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 blah. So let me go to Etruscans. Let me go to images. These is what the Etruscans look like. Look at that. Brown. And then they painted, women would paint their self white in portraits or paintings, so you can know the difference between a man and a woman. You might say, well, these are two men. No, that's a woman, that's a man. And when they painted themselves on the walls or whatever, they painted the woman white. Look at this. That's not a white Roman. The original Romans were Etruscans. Look at this. Doesn't look like a white man. Can pass for a Jake. Etrusia, the black Etruscans, the black Phoenicians, the Latin, the Romans. The original Romans were people of color. You look at the big noses, look at that. Look at the color of the skin. These would have to be, it makes all the sense in the world that they were so-called, so you can understand. Look at that. Look at that. This is supposed, we know that this is a woman because the painter paints her white. But this is her original color was similar to this guy. This is supposed to be a male. Apostle Ramlab did a video on this some years ago. The Minoans. Like I said, if you go anywhere on the planet Earth, anywhere, you can't just look at somebody and say, oh, you're an Israelite, or you're a Moabite. You can't do that because there's such a mixture. You got Moabites that look like Edomites. So the Most High is going to sift the elect, the house of Israel, then they're going to sift the elect from the regular Israelite. I know I'm going long, but... So this guy thinks he's got it. This is why it doesn't make any sense. You'll be there for the next 10 hours arguing back and forth. Unless Ron Dalton can hop in the time machine and go back and borrow Esau, and then we can find out, oh, okay, he was black. Oh, he looks like a European. He really thinks he got it.
Israel in the future with their army, remember the armies of Fiji, the armies of Samoa, the armies of Hawaii, the armies of Cook Islands, they're going to all get their armies and they're going to come to Israel to conquer the land, to steal, plunder, spoil.
Hold on. So I understand what you're saying, but you're saying because of a prophecy in Ezekiel, right? That's what we're referring to?
Yes.
Ezekiel 38.
Okay, I don't think people are quite tracking with you. I know what you're saying because we talked earlier.
We can read it.
By the way, just for the record, the word chief prince, it's a Hebrew word. When you read it in the Hebrew, the word is, the Ra'ash Shah, which is Russia. Russia. Even scholars tell you that the word the chief prince goes back to Rosh or Rosha. So the word Russia is a Hebrew word.
Read Ezekiel 38. It showed them.
Yeah, so what he's saying is, in Ezekiel 38, he's talking about there's a prophecy where you have Gog and Magog, the descendants of Japheth.
Actually, it's Gog, Magog. Gog from Gog. Gog from Gog. It's not two different places.
Going to come against the people of God. And what he's saying is, he's not saying he thinks it means the armies of Samoa. He's saying that's how ridiculous their position would be. Where they're saying, oh, the armies of Samoa are going to come attack Israel. Because if that's the descendants of Japheth, that's what that...
That's talking about the modern Russians today. They're going to use missiles to attack Babylon the Great and Palestine and destroy both of those places. He doesn't understand this because he's not a prophet. Guarantee you, he'll never go into. Well, I don't know. I don't watch him enough, but I don't think he knows the prophecies. He doesn't understand. If we went into the prophecies, he'd be lost.
That would entail. Am I following you correctly?
Correct. Exactly correct.
So, in logical argumentation, what you're doing there is called a reductio ad absurdum. And that's where you show the opponent's position as foolish by extending it to its logical conclusion. So what Ron Dalton is doing is saying, here will be the logical conclusion. Hold on. So I understand what you're saying, but you're saying because of a prophecy in Ezekiel, right? That's what you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay, I don't think people are quite tracking with you. I know what you're saying because we talked earlier.
We can read it. We can read Ezekiel 38. It showed them.
Yeah, so what he's saying is, in Ezekiel 38, he's talking about there's a prophecy where you have Gog and Magog, the descendants of Japheth, going to come against the people of God. And what he's saying is, he's not saying he thinks it means the armies of Samoa. He's saying that's how ridiculous their position would be. Where they're saying, oh, the armies of Samoa are going to come attack Israel. Because if that's the descendants of Japheth, that's what that would entail. Am I following you correctly?
Correct. Exactly correct.
So, in logical argumentation, what you're doing there is called a reductio ad absurdum. And that's
reductio ad absurdum. In other words, you're taking something out and you're putting something else in. We're going to take this out. This is wrong what you're saying, and we're going to put this in. We're going to replace it with that. That's what that means, which he learned in the theological cemetery.
Where you show the opponent's position as foolish by extending it to its logical conclusion. So what Ron Dalton is doing is saying, here will be the logical conclusion of what they're telling you. If it was true, it would mean the armies of the Samoans are going to come attack Israel in the last days. That's what he's saying, right? Correct. Which is bizarre. Correct. So you are right. That's bizarre.
So it's obvious that that's not talking about that. It's talking about the Russians. The Gog, matter of fact, I'm going to show you where Gog is. Well, you already know it's Russia. It's current day Russia. The original people that were up there were most likely Japheth, because they took all that. That's why the word Japheth means large. They took a large sum of land, and it was actually Israelites that founded Russia. And Edomites came up in there. A lot of them are Israelites. A lot of them Russian so-called white men. A lot of them are Israelites mingled among Edomites. So we don't know who Putin is. He can be an Edomite. But the Most High will most likely use him to get that war started. That's what that's talking about. But he doesn't understand prophecy.
It's bizarre.
Yeah, the Fiji Islands, the Hawaiians, the Samoans, the Cook Islands, they're going to get their armies together, and they're going to come to Israel to steal, to plunder, to spoil, to prey upon the people. And then they're going to fight the Israelites, and then at the end, the Most High is going to come back and smite them all down.
Right. And
wait, Nate got it wrong. That's after the 1,000 years, Revelation 20. So, hey, you know what? This is why I said you got to just teach. Just teach. Don't argue with nobody. Don't debate with nobody. If people can't see it, then they can't see it. And then we'll find out if the Most High was dealing with him, or whoever. We're going to find out then it shall be known that there's been a prophet among them. when all these things come to pass. Like we here at GMS, we say, I'm going to close after this. We speak about the MOTB is, the fulfillment of Revelation 13:16 is MOTB, which is the mark of the beast, the microchip. And you know when they're going to see it? When it actually comes. Then they're going to have to consider what they're going to do now. Listen to a little bit more, and then I'm going to close. And see, this is what you people, like I said, this is why you people, could you break this down for me? Could you give me the understanding of this? Because you are not going to sit down and do all this research, going back to Google and going to the Blue Letter. You go to, you'll just ask a question. Like all these different Israelite groups, these pop-up Israelite groups that got the 12 tribes signed. Where did they get all that from? They're watching either GMS, IUIC, ISUBK, and then they just took, I like what they're saying in GMS, but I don't like when they say this, so I'm going to take this from GMS, I'm going to take that, and they're all confused. They're all confused. And that's beautiful because the Most High set these groups up to be stumbling blocks, to follow them.
Here's why, and you pointed this out, this is a problem, though, because that would be according to their previous breakdowns, but now they're mixing previous breakdowns with a new breakdown, which is, oh, by the way, they're also Israelites. Well, wait, who are the descendants of Japheth then? Well, I think that's a good place to end as far as that. Thank you for coming on. I know it's super late where you're at, so I appreciate you coming on. Now, we obviously have different views on a lot of other subjects. However, since you were gracious in coming on, tell the audience where to find your materials if they want to find out more about this and how to find you and the stuff that you produce so they can be aware of your content.
Yes, I did a movie about Gog and Magog's army, and it's called Hebrews to Negroes 3, Volume 3, Gog and Magog's Army versus the Israelites. And it's on h2ntv.com. H, the number 2, ntv.com. And you guys should check it out. It is.
If anybody want to watch it, you can go ahead and watch it. I'm not going to watch it. You'll watch it, let me know, and I might watch it. H2N. Let me hear this again. Give me a second.
Israel to steal, to plunder, to spoil, to prey upon the people. And then they're going to fight the Israelites, and then at the Most High is going to come back and smite them all down.
Right. And here's why, and you pointed this out, this is a problem, though, because that would be according...
For the record, Bishop Nate is wrong on that. He doesn't understand that. He doesn't. He just made that up. That wasn't even taught in the main school. He just came up with it.
Into their previous breakdowns, but now they're mixing previous breakdowns with a new breakdown, which is, oh, by the way, they're also Israelites. Well, wait, who are the descendants of Japheth then? Well, I think that's a good place to end as far as that. Thank you for coming on. I know it's super late where you're at, so I appreciate you coming on. Now, we obviously have different views on a lot of other subjects. However, since you were gracious in coming on, tell the audience where to find your materials if they want to find out more about this and how to find you and the stuff that you produce so they can be aware of your content.
Yes, I did a movie about Gog and Magog's army, and it's called Hebrews to Negroes 3, Volume 3, Gog and Magog's army versus.
Let's go ahead and try to find it. Hebrews to Negroes 3.
According to Google Books, as years pass by, the Antichrist beast system is slowly emerging upon us and around us.
Okay, volume. Okay, is this it? Hebrews to Negroes 3, Volume 3, Gog and Magog. Let's open this up. Fair use, fair use, fair use. Maybe you got to buy it. Okay, let me play it. He invited us to go there, so we there.
In the Bible, Christ tells us that one of the signs of the end of the world is deception. Distraction is considered by many to be a tool of deception. But what else will happen in the last days? There will be wars and rumors of wars, famines, pestilences, tsunamis, earthquakes, meteors falling to the earth, celestial signs, economic collapses, social decline, violence, the lack of love, food shortages, hunger, hyperinflation, sexual immorality, idolatry, blasphemy, false prophets, false Christs, and the fall of mystery Babylon, which hearkens the fall of the last ruling kingdom on earth. But there is one prophecy
Well, I mean, is he saying that it's America?
that is often overlooked and understudied in the Abrahamic faiths, and that is the prophecy of Gog and Magog, which is directly tied to the Battle of Armageddon, in which God delivers a final judgment to the nations a part of Gog and Magog's army. The people of Gog and Magog's massive army is recognized in Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. In Islam, Ya'juj and Ma'juj are trapped in a faraway land, but when the day of judgment comes, they will all gather together to conquer the world.
This is fair use, by the way.
In the book of Ezekiel 38 and Revelation 20 in the Holy Bible, it describes how the nations in this massive army of Gog and Magog will leave their homeland to come to the land of the true Israelites, to steal, plunder, and exploit the land and all the resources within it that the true Israelites are in possession of. They will cover the Holy Land of the Israelites like a massive cloud with their people, and at the end they wage war against the Israelites, in which the Most High will destroy them. Knowing all of this, why doesn't the Christian community, Hebrew Israelite community, Jewish community, and Muslim community have any answers about who comprises the nations of Gog and Magog's army today?
It's the Russians, and matter of fact, I'll go to that. Let me let this play, and I'm gonna show you who they are a god to. And it's something that's getting ready to happen. And the Gog or Gog Magog are referring to the Russians, the chief prince, which is Russia, of Meshech and Tubal. Go to an ancient biblical map and you can point out. Matter of fact, I'll go to that. Bear with me for a minute. Give me a second. Bear with me for a minute. Why does it want to come up? Okay, as soon as it opens up, I'll show you. Okay, so this is, gotta wait till this opens up. This is when these armies come together. Okay, I'm gonna show you, okay, you got Kazakhstan. This is all part of Russia. It's gotta open up. You know what? This is all part of Russia. Let me do this. Okay, I just had Russia in my sights. Okay, that's St. Petersburg. I'm looking for Moscow. That's Moscow. Belarus means beautiful Russia. People say it means white Russia. No, Belarus means beautiful Russia. You got Ukraine, which is originally part of the former Soviet Union. That's why they're justifying and taking it back. So they're going to come down with their armies along with Germany and the UK, and they're going to meet. This is the fulfillment of Ezekiel 38 and Revelation 20, verse 7 on down. They're going to all meet over here. Joel 2. They're going to all meet over here, and all hell's going to break loose. The U.S. military forces, they're all going to come over here. Something's going to happen that's going to bring all the militaries together, and that's when this destruction is going to come. So this whole region right here is going to be destroyed, but it's going to be built back up. And then on the other side of the earth, west of this place, the Levant, is America. That's going to be destroyed too. It's not going to happen after 1,000 years of us being a kingdom. So we broke it down the correct way. So when Ron Dalton says, why ain't the Israelites saying anything about it? We say things about it. We know what it means. It's getting, when you go to Ezekiel 38 chapter, it says Gog will be Magog will be a god unto these Arab and African nations. One of the nations that was mentioned was the Persians, which today are the people of Iran. This is Ezekiel 38 is getting ready to happen in our lifetimes. So let me come back over here, let you listen to the rest of it. Let me come back over here, because he gets on the Israelites saying we don't know what we're talking about. No, I know exactly what Ezekiel 38 is talking about.
Knowing all of this, why doesn't the Christian community? They will cover the Holy Land of the... will leave their homeland to come to the land. All gather together to conquer the world. In Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Directly tied to the Battle of Armageddon.
Okay,
it is often overlooked and understudied in the Abrahamic faiths. And that is the...
Okay, right here.
Prophets, false Christs, and the fall of Mystery Babylon.
And the fall of Mystery Babylon. So he's showing you, where's this? This is in New York. Maybe he thinks Babylon is New York. I don't know if he believes that Babylon is New York or the whole country. It's the whole country. That's why I just show you that. He mentioned Babylon, and he showed you all of this.
Which hearkens the fall of the last ruling kingdom on earth. But there is one prophecy that is often overlooked and understudied in the Abrahamic faiths, and that is the prophecy of Gog and Magog, which is directly tied to the Battle of Armageddon, in which God delivers a final judgment to the nations a part of Gog and Magog's army. The people of Gog and Magog's massive army is recognized in Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. In Islam, Yajuj and Majuj are trapped in a faraway land. But when the day of judgment comes, they will all gather together to conquer the world. In the book of Ezekiel 38 and Revelation 20 in the Holy Bible, it describes how the
he knows that it's Ezekiel 38 and Revelation 20 verse 7 on down is talking about the same event. Right, this is Joel 2. What is that? Joel 2 and 19 or either 20? The Northern Army. This represents the Northern Army. So you're going to have the National Guards, the Navy, the Army, Special Forces, Marines.
Nations in this massive army of Gog and Magog.
And none of them are coming back. They're going to be a permanent part of the soil. And this is going to happen in our lifetimes. And it's going to happen when the fulfillment of Revelation 13 and 16 come to pass. We sound like broken records, but we talk about this time and time again because these are the main, we're talking about the main, what manner of person ought ye to be in all holy conversation. Because Peter covered it, the elements shall melt with fervent heat. He's talking about the destruction. So he said, being that you know this, you're supposed to be talking about this all the time. So this keeps coming up.
Will leave their homeland to come to the land of the true Israelites, to steal, plunder, and exploit the land and all the resources within it that the true Israelites are in possession of. They will cover the holy land of the Israelites like a massive cloud with their people, and at the end they wage war against the Israelites, in which the Most High will destroy them. Knowing all of this, why doesn't the Christian community, Hebrew Israelite community, Jewish community, and Muslim community have any answers about who comprises the nations of Gog and Magog's army today?
I already said it. We know. We here at GMS knows. So you got to change that, Ronnie.
The book of Genesis records Noah's son Japheth as having 7 sons.
Wait a minute. Oh, so this is the sons of Japheth. Show you that this is why it's a waste of time debating. So these are the Japhites. Oh boy.
Magog, Meshech, Tubal, Gomer, Tiras.
And this is all your fault, Nate, for going on these different platforms. Now you got stuck. They ambushed your ass, so you won't know what the fuck to do.
Madai, the progenitor of the Medes Persians, and Javan, the progenitor of the Greeks and Romans.
The original people of Javan are dark people. They're not Edomites.
Gog and Magog's prophecy in Ezekiel 38 lists
because Ron Dalton doesn't believe the Edomites are the descendants of Edomites are so-called white people. He believes that they're probably black or they don't look nothing like white people because he doesn't know. He doesn't know.
Of these sons of Japheth as the nations who will come to the true holy land of Israel.
See, people watch this, and this is what you use the term in the scriptures, superfluous. Oh wow, this is deep, brother. Cause y'all don't know how to decipher shit. You don't know how to break the code. So you see all this cinema, what do you call it? Cinematography, whatever the fuck you call it. This brother, we gotta follow this brother. This brother, he got it. Cause you don't know anything. You don't have the eye salve. You ain't got the answers.
Covering it like a massive cloud. These Japhetic-speaking nations are not the descendants of Greek speakers or Roman Latin speakers, but are nations today speaking other Japhetic languages, such as Celtic, Germanic, Slavic, Turkic.
He doesn't know. This guy doesn't know. He don't know what's going on.
Altaic and Sino-Tibetan. So why is knowing who the nations of Gog and Magog's army is today so important? Because if...
I'm sorry, let me bring that back. That's the king of Gog and Magog. You say Gog and it's not Gog and Magog. It's Gog, Magog, or Gog from Gog. It's not Gog and Magog, although it says it in Revelation 20. That's the king of Gog, Magog, so you can understand. The Rush, the Russia, the chief prince. Russia means chief prince in the Hebrew.
Who the nations of Gog and Magog's army is today so important. Because if we know who these nations are,
and we know who the nations are,
including which land they are covering right now like a cloud.
These are the Moabites.
For the purpose of plundering and exploitation, we will know for the first time in history where is the true holy land of God.
So this guy, Ron Dalton, believes that all these nations will come together and go to Africa. You notice he didn't show you a scene from Israel because he thinks Palestine and Israel, Jerusalem, Israel is inside of the continent of Africa, which is not.
God's chosen people, also known as the land of Canaan. In the new movie, Hebrews to Negroes 3, sound the alarm, Gog and Magog.
Wait a minute. Streaming January 24th on, maybe this is old, h2ntv.com. Save the date. You need to see this movie. Okay. So let me do this. h2ntv.com, because I want to see if this is free or not. Or can you watch it right now? Give me a second. Let me let this trailer play.
Gog's army versus the Israelites. Find out who is who in this end of days biblical prophecy.
See, when he shows you these Africans, he's saying that those are the Israelites. Nate is teaching the same thing. He said, every person, all the people, the Israelites are scattered throughout Africa. The only ones that are not Israelites on the continent of Africa are the Nilotic people, which the Nilotic meaning they live off the coast of the Nile, which he's talking about the Sudanese, which they have to go back to the Egyptians. So Cush, I guess Cush are Israelites, Pawat are Israelites, the descendant of Pawat, and what's the other one? Canaan, which happen to be in Africa. They're Israelites. So this is just mad confusion.
And where the true land of the Israelites are, you owe it to yourself to know the truth. Satan's aim is to deceive the whole world, and Yah's aim is for us to receive truth, because the truth will set us free.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me do this. Streaming January 24th on another movie documentary, Hebrew to Negroes 3, Gog and Magog Army versus the Israelites. Oh, that's deep. Oh, this brother, the Most High, dealing with him. Okay.
In the Bible, Christ tells us that one of the signs of the end of the world is
I'm sorry, let me go to the let me click and see what's up. Bear me for a minute. Okay, subscribe. You gotta subscribe. You gotta sign in. So I can't see anything unless I sign in. Okay, video on demand. Okay, let's see what's up. Okay, so let's try this. Oh, you gotta pay. You gotta pay for this, motherfucker. Hebrews to Negroes 3, Volume 3, Gog and Magog Army. One video. Rent for $20. Buy for $30. So what if I don't got the money? I can't see it. What does the scripture mean? Buy the truth and sell it not. So you got to pay for this. Anybody willing to pay for it, you go ahead and pay for it and enjoy it. So you can get confused. See, he didn't say that on Vocab Show. He made it seem like, oh, you can just go watch it. He didn't tell you got to pay for this shit. Shit, you got to be out your fucking mind, bro. So you know what? Anyway, let me go ahead and close. I knew there was gonna be some money to that. That's why he gave you that crispy trailer. Oh yeah, man, I gotta see this. The truth is dealing with this guy.